Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Josh.
And I'm Drew.
This is our monthly comic review. This is where we look over our poll list of roughly 20 titles that we read in a month, and we pick out our top and bottom choices for the month. We're going to go ahead and dive right into this, and we'll talk first about one of our top choices here. This is Batman, number 44.
Batman!
This is Snyder and Azzarello with Jock and Luridge. This is kind of a guest spot by Azzarello and Jock.
Yeah, we don't get a Capullo or Capullo on this.
Right. This is not outside of either of these guys' wheelhouse. They both had a lot of experience in Detective Comics and Batman, as well as working with Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a step outside of the current story arc that we have in Batman that's been focusing on Gordon Bat and the Mecha Bat suit. This jumps back to early Bruce Wayne. And talks about how Bruce Wayne and Batman moved from just being concerned with beating up bad guys and became a little more concerned with how his actions affect the lowest of the low in the city. We also talk a little bit in here, we get into police brutality and racial profiling and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty heavy, weighty issue with a lot of really interesting ideas. And to see Batman grow as a character is rare in DC Comics these days.
Yeah, I was going to say especially modern DC Comics.
Right. They've gone so far as to get rid of Bruce Wayne multiple times now just so they can make the comic go somewhere and make the characters learn and change because Bruce Wayne and that Batman is so iconic. So it's cool to see the character grow and change here in this comic, and that's the main reason I think it's one of our top picks for the month.
Yeah, also, not to discredit Capullo, but the visual change of pace also completely sold me on it. And it's not, again, because his is any better or worse. It's just, it struck me as so different from what I've used to been seeing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Jock also has the advantage here of a single issue story. He gets to come in, play around with the visual style, and get back out. He doesn't have to tell a long form story or draw 80, 100, 120 pages over the course of multiple months. He just gets to go in and one shot and done with a very splashy, interesting style.
Yeah. Yeah, he did an awesome job.
Very awesome. Yeah, very cool stuff.
My first top pick, this one has been recurring for me. Prez. So good, so funny, so poignant, so relevant. Can't say enough good about it.
Yeah, and the art's no slouch either. It's improving with each issue. I think this is a new artist this month, if I'm not mistaken.
It might be.
I believe it was, and you can see they're taking cues from the previous artist and just ramping it up a little bit. I think this one has a little more style to it than the previous in terms of artistic quality and
visual storytelling. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I like the way that they worked the near silent subplot into this. I think the guy has maybe a couple speaking roles, but it's just so reflective of everything else that's happening while being almost completely detached from it. It's really, I don't know if it's genius, but it's a really good idea that they had.
It's good, especially for a DC book. I wish DC would give people more space to do this sort of stuff more often.
Absolutely. Not to mention, this is a $2.99 book.
Yeah.
And they get so much story in here. It's amazing.
And it's also, we're now on issue 4, so all of the world building is done. So at this point, we're really just diving into it and going full bore into what's going on here, which makes it a great read from front to back.
Yeah. Not to mention, again, hilarious. So funny.
Very funny.
Very funny.
All right, well, let's stick on the topic of funny then. Let's talk about Archie, number 3. This is Mark Waid and Fiona Staples. Real dream team. To have these guys on Archie is still amazing. It's still crazy to think that they're doing Archie.
Yeah. I like it, but it's weird.
Yeah, it's great, though. I think earlier this month when we talked about this title, I believe you called Mark Waid a method writer.
Yes.
Very, very astute. The way he manages to write teenage high schoolers is incredible.
Again, you would think he was, 10, 15 years younger. It's amazing. The 2-page spread was really fantastic in this. I love that. Again, the movement and all the panels continues to impress. The little bits of storyline and interjections from Jughead. Really like Jughead.
Yeah. Yeah, Jughead's been great. All the characters are great.
Yeah.
You come out of this just loving these characters. It's not action. It's not exciting. It's not even that funny. It's just endearing.
Yeah.
It's just a great comic to read for characters. And it shows as well in here, it shows so much how much Wade and Staples are enjoying this book.
Yeah.
They're both clearly having a blast. It shows on every page.
I kind of want to see Wade like write for a sitcom now.
I would love it.
Almost what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Just a really, really high quality sitcom.
And what's crazy here, again, is they're writing Archie, and these are teenagers. Mark Waid is not a young dude.
No.
We are here in about 5 days, right? We're going to be looking at a Mark Waid series from the early 90s. So this guy's been writing for 15 years for the big leagues. He was writing major books for DC in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's writing teenagers better than most teens would probably write a teenager. It's pretty incredible stuff.
Next, I have another DC one, which makes me happy. The Suicide Squad Annual. This one, Suicide Squad was in our bottom picks, or your bottom picks for last month.
Yeah.
This one, I think, addressed every criticism that either of us has had of the series or anything about this up to this point, and just knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it only took a double issue to do it. That being said, I'm right there with you. This was right at the top of my pack as well. If you wouldn't have chose it, I would have. Great issue, a lot of fun, action-packed.
Action-packed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And action-packed is not normally something that makes me jump at a comic either. I don't go looking for action-packed stuff.
Do you know Superman's fighting this month, man? You gotta check it out. Yeah, I don't give a shit.
But this one does it well.
It's
I loved
clever.
it. It was clever, and the characters in here developed well. We have great dialogue in here from front to back.
Mm-hmm. Great character building of some of the characters that we haven't really seen built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a couple of interesting twists that happen. Just all around, it's well written. The art is above average, if not great. I wouldn't put this in some upper echelon of art, but it definitely fits the story that we have here. And as we keep saying, Black Manta looks fucking awesome in it. So there's that.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I hope every issue from here on out is like this. They'll let him just have the $5 book.
Right.
I'll still get it.
I would.
You know.
I would be so into this if it was 50 pages every month.
Right.
I imagine that the artists,
Yeah.
Briones and Blonde probably wouldn't be so into that idea, but I sure would. Come on.
There'd probably be a pay raise. I mean, they get more pages.
Well, right. They get paid per page, but
Right, yeah.
that's over a page a day. That's brutal. If you think about it, it's like a page and a half every day.
Yeah.
Fuck them. They need to do it anyway.
Fuck them. It would make us happy.
Yeah. This made me happy. This is Batgirl, 44. This was by Stewart and Fletcher, with Bengal and the Point. This was an artist that came in and just did this issue. Now she's gone again.
Mm-hmm.
But, man.
The Bengal Tiger issue.
Right.
Was on the point.
And I'll tell you this. This one is hard for me to put exactly into words why I love it. But that's the fun of this, right?
Okay.
So I think this is a comic that is more than the sum of its parts. When you put all of the different pieces that go into making this together, it becomes something that I would say is pretty incredible. It's a really well-written story. The art is really cool, but none of it is incredible on its own. If you were to just look at how this was written, you'd say that was pretty good. If you were to look at the art, you'd say the art is pretty cool. But somehow, all of these creators together, you put the art with the way this is written, you put that with the way it gets colored, you put all these things together, and all of a sudden, I think it's an awesome book.
There's a lot of synergy with the creative team. I'll agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really on the same page.
Right, yeah. And it's just fun, and it does a great job of making me want to get the next one, which is, I suppose, what most comics want to do. They want you to want the next one, and that's
Right.
what this does. Which is interesting because this is the end of the story arc. This isn't in the middle. This is the tying up of this story arc, so we can go to the next one. And even more than the middle issues leading up to this one really makes me want to read the next, because they're setting up such a great storyline for whatever is next. It doesn't even matter who the antagonist is coming up. This antagonist is done. They handled it. This problem's over.
Right.
I don't care what the next problem is. I just want to see these people hang out and talk to each other and go punch bad guys.
Yeah, and we've seen some interesting seeds planted in the last issue that would be interesting to see how they grow and develop. And I think the long-form story, when that finally hits and all these pieces come together, is just going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I have really high hopes for this in the coming months. Definitely one of my top picks. Absolutely.
All right, last top one. This one's a new one for us this month. Fade Out by Brubaker. This is another one that I really can't say enough good things about. The layout is fantastic. The dialogue is genius. It's just absolutely genius.
Top notch, absolutely.
Again, really can't complain about anything. I love the old school paneling. I love the noirish shades and coloring and everything. I mean, Brubaker's easily one of my top writers of all time. So
there's nothing bad that can be said about this. There's so many good things. We could run out of time here. First of all, I read this before reading 1 through 8 and was immediately hooked at number 9. You could pick this one up. I'm sure it's out there at your local comic shop, sitting around on the shelf.
It's not sold out.
I don't think it would be. It's not that huge of a title.
It is to me.
Right. So it's probably sitting there. You owe it to yourself next time you go in there. Pick up number 9. Really, you should just go and get the first 2 trades of this. But if you don't want to spend the $20 for that, just start at number 9. It's awesome. You're missing cool stuff, but you can jump right in here. Like I said, I started at 9. I love it. I don't feel like I missed anything. I went back and read 1 through 8, and it was like reading an awesome prequel. Mm-hmm. Super good stuff.
Yeah. And this issue, again, was such a good jumping on point now that I'm thinking about it, because we get so much character building in this. It's amazing how much character building in this. It's amazing how little happens in this, and it's still so captivating learning about these people.
Right. Well, the first 8 issues build up a mystery, and then this one then finally comes back and tells you about the characters we've been following through the first 8. So there's a lot of mystery in the first 8 about who these guys even are, what their history is, how they know each other. We get hints of it. Yeah. It tells you pieces, but this one really focuses back in on giving you the backstory of how they got to where they are. And that alone is enough to get you caught up and ready to go and know probably more than someone who hasn't read number 9 yet and only read 1 through 8. You, by reading number 9, probably understand this comic better than the person who read 1 through 8 in some ways, at least.
Sure. They're both read.
Yeah, you hold one up and I'll hold one up.
Okay. At the same time?
Yeah. All right.
3, 2, 1. We didn't like these.
These
is the thing about it.
Were not very good.
Yeah.
And you can't see this, but we should have known because of the lack of color here. But they look the same. They're like both
red and
yellow. Yeah. And it's like the same shades. It's like a warning.
Weird. Yeah.
Don't read these.
Yield, motherfucker.
Stay back. Stop. So this is Big Trouble in Little China by Fred Van Lint, Joe Eisma, and Duarte. This is pretty sad because this has been a good series up until some of these turds took over.
Yeah, 1 through 12 will live on in my heart forever. Like the Celine Dion song, you know. But the rest of them, man, I'm just ready to drop it. I keep waiting for my mind to be changed, and we're at 16 now, so that's like 4 issues of this.
And this wasn't awful. This was better than the previous few that these guys have been doing, but with all of the great stuff we're reading, we've got 20 books that we read. We're getting more with this new Marvel stuff. With all of this awesome shit that we're reading, this just feels out of place to me. Yeah. I don't understand why we would keep reading it. If you want to keep reading this,
no,
you have to sell me.
And I'm not going to do that, is the thing about it. It was, as you said, probably the best since the new creative team took over. But it was also the end of that story arc, and it was the end of all of the jokes that they could make, and I don't really care what they do next.
Right. This is a good jumping off point.
And the other one, Detective Comics, which is a bummer because it had one really solid issue. I think it was last month.
Last month.
Last month. And then this one is just back to the same shit that we didn't like about it. It's just Batman's B-sides. Everything's just very quick and to the point and pointless at that.
Right. Last month we got into this gritty detective story with Bullock and the internal affairs and all this very cool Gotham Central-esque kind of stuff happening. And we thought, man, this is finally getting good. They're figuring out how to make Detective Comics feel different than Batman, how to make it something worth reading rather than it being, like you said, Batman B-side. And now this month we just go back to James Gordon fighting giant mecha jokers in the streets.
Yeah. It's dumb. And it was such a quick wrap-up to everything that really felt drawn out at times and not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it took us forever to get to the circus, and then it was over in like a page.
Right.
The way to go.
Yeah. Just a disappointing issue.
Yeah.
So we've dropped that as well. And that's it for monthly review. We do have our weekly poll list every Wednesday. You should check that out. And also, Friday, we're going to start looking at stuff regarding The Flash. We're going to talk about some runs that you could check out if you're into the Flash TV show that's on CW. That's coming back, or that is back now.
Yeah, it is back.
It is back. And we're going to look at some runs, including Mark Waid's run called Born to Run back in the 90s. And this is a run that you're better off actually going out and getting the old singles.
Mm-hmm.
This
Takes
is hard.
cheaper that way.
Yeah, this is hard to find. You're not going to go to Amazon. You're not going to go in Barnes & Noble and find this run. You'll want to pick it up in singles, which you can get like online, eBay, such like that.
My comic shop.
Right.
It's a good resource.
When you buy it that way, it's roughly the price of a normal trade, but that's the only way you're going to be able to read
issues.
it. Right, but you get the first run issues from the 90s, and that's one of Mark Waid's earliest works with DC. It's pretty cool stuff, and it goes into some of the characters that we're going to meet this season, Wally West in particular, and it kind of explains where he was, how he came to be, how he met Barry. So if you're into the show, Wally West is showing up, so that should be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Didn't we have the New 52 one as well?
Right, we're also going to talk about Volume 4 of New 52 Flash run. This is the one concerning Reverse Flash, which shares a lot in common with the previous season as well as this season. Anybody that knows Flash particularly well understands that there's a whole slew of Dr. Zoom and Reverse Flash.
7 Reverse Flashes.
There's all these different Reverse Flashes, so it's always kind of pick and choose from it. But this is the newest interpretation of that we're going to be talking about here. Also pretty interesting for somebody who likes the show and wants to know a little bit more about Reverse Flash and where that's coming from.
Later. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.